Test on one day. India, England, Australia. What a player, what a player, what a player.
Hello and welcome to another special edition of Waadaplaya Concussion Sub Series with me, Sanjay Dubey. I have my Concussion Sub Suman with me, and today's extremely special guests are Melinda Farrel and Bharat Sunderesan. They are famous for their writing, freelance, commentary, journalists, creating great content on YouTube, and famous for their The Good, the Bad, and the Ridiculous show, which brings a lot of content around cricket each day, every day, whenever there's matches going around in the world. Melinda and Bharat, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. I feel like I haven't had much sleep, so I may actually speak like someone who needs a concussion sub at any moment. If I start slurring my words, it's not because I have concussion. I'm just very tired from staying up late watching the cricket.
Well, guys, I was born to be a concussion substitute or substitute of some kind. And Sanjay, we were just speaking off air about how you never got admitted into SIES, which is the South Indian Education Society. I know why. You just called me Bharat Sunderesan. Sunderesan and Sunderesan are very different, boss. Like that.
I was thinking of all my anger of not getting into it, and then
Fair enough. Fair.
Bharat Sunderesan it is. Okay, right. So I'll start with Mel. Mel, first of all, you are the first female guest we've had on our show. That's how bad we are, but we're really pleased to have you on our show. Tell us how you got into cricket. We won't ask that question to Bharat because every average Indian is basically a cricket fan. But how did you get associated with cricket and your journey into sports writing and journalism?
Well, for starters, I hope I'm not the last female guest. Come on, guys, get it together. There are a lot more women out there that I'm sure would be good guests. I am just joking. No, look, it's quite very common to be a cricket fan in Australia, really. I think I usually describe it as in Australia, cricket is the difference between Australia and India. In India, a huge majority of Indians are passionate cricket fans. It's certainly a huge number. Whereas in Australia, there are a lot of people who like sport and who watch cricket in the summer. So they're sports fans who like watching cricket in the summer because it's on free-to-air TV here. And so that was me when I was a kid. I watched TV in the summer, watched cricket on TV. It wasn't like I followed Australia when they went and played overseas or anything like that. It was on TV in the summer. It was a summer sport like tennis was, or like rugby league was in the winter. So that was a sport that I watched there. But actually falling into cricket reporting was probably a little bit more accidental. I was working just in sport as a production assistant, and then I started reporting generally. So I used to report on everything: straight news, very boring city council stories, but then also sport, every sport that was kind of being played, really. And then I kind of started, especially when I was working for Fox Sports, I was really usually covering rugby league in winter and cricket in summer because they were the main two sports where I was. And that just gradually became more and more cricket, and I had more opportunities there. I enjoyed covering it more, and it's led me to a lot of great adventures. So that's basically how I ended up working in cricket all the time.
Excellent. Just taking off from there, one of your popular shows, Polite Inquiries. How did that come about? And, where did you get the ideas around, creating such content and stories around it?
Well, it wasn't actually my idea at all. I just jumped on the Polite Inquiries train. So basically, big glory hunter. No, it was Jared Kimber and George DeBell had come up with the idea for an Ashes series before I met them, actually. So that would have been about 2013, the year when you had two Ashes series back to back. So I hadn't met them. They had started doing Polite Inquiries themselves, and then I met them that summer and ended up working joining Cricinfo the following year. And that was when India toured Australia, and I met Bharat Sunderesan on that tour. So basically George wasn't here and Jared was desperate. So he got me to go on. That was basically it. I was kind of like the last person standing. He had to do polite inquiries with someone, although he did also do it a few times with Rahul Dravid that summer. So I like to think, me, Rahul Dravid, cricket expertise, who to go for, clearly. So that's basically the story of my involvement with polite inquiries.
Fantastic. Bharat, do you want to say anything regarding that?
Yeah, and I would pick Mel as well over Rahul Dravid. Yeah,
he's a very nice man. He's a very
I mean, Rahul keeps calling me every day and says like, Bharat, I want to do good, bad, ridiculous with you. Yeah. But I'm like, nah, sorry. I'll only do it with Mel. Yeah.
So Rahul keeps calling you, Bharat, and you've known him since 7-8 years, but you ended up writing a book on MS Dhoni, the touch story for MS Dhoni. Why not Sachin Tendulkar or V.V.S. Lakshman or anyone else? Why the MS Dhoni? He is sort of very elusive to normal cricket fan. But yeah, give us more insights around it.
Oh, again, it wasn't my idea at all. Like Penguin approached me in 2016. By then, of course, I'd written a lot about MS Dhoni because I started covering cricket in 2008. I mean, I became a journalist in 2008. Like Mel, I also did a lot of random sports before I started doing cricket, but it happened very quickly. So I was fortunate that way. And they just came to me and said, "We think you can write a book on Dhoni." And I'm very lazy. I said, no. I don't think I can do it. I already have a day job writing for a newspaper. And it's very different when you're writing for a newspaper. You don't get off days at all, right? Because the paper needs to be printed every day. And the Indian Express never got ads. So there were 3 empty pages every day. So I was very reluctant to start with. But my now good friend Radhika, who was a publicist there, and she convinced me to do the book. And she said, like, if you had to write a book on Dhoni, what would it be on? I said, well, I'm not writing a biography because that was the year his movie was coming out. And I said, I'm not going to write about, where he came from and what he eats and what he drinks, because you know how sports movies are made in India, right? Mel and I have referred to that a lot over the crazy Australian summer. That's how sports movies are written, where someone's an underdog or someone and then grows up to be the superhero. So I was like, yeah, but who would want to read a book about him when there's a movie? But then I said, okay, if I do have to write a book, I might write about how he's this enigma and I would want to unravel it. I thought that idea would put them off, but in turn, it actually got them more excited and they were like, oh, no, okay, fine, that sounds great, right? And then I took my own sweet time delaying deadlines, pushing deadlines off. And then eventually I got my butt down and I finished it off. So that's how the Dhoni book came about. And by then the Sachin Tendulkar book had already been written. So.
Did you get to meet him personally, spend time with him, anything?
Oh, I mean, I've been meeting him since 2008, as a cricket journalist, right? That's the thing with Mel and I, or any person who's a cricket journalist. It's not like we know these guys. So at times you become friends with some guys, but we're part of the same industry. So you keep bumping into them. Fortunately, Dhoni and I always got along. I was amused by him. He was amused by me. Off the field, of course, I'm not. He's not like Rahul Dravid. He doesn't keep calling me to be on good, bad, ridiculous because he does not use his phone at all. So there's no other access to Dhoni. So the only access was you wait around practice sessions and find him somewhere in the team hotel or something. But the thing was, every time we saw each other, we had something to say to each other over the years. So what he did do for that book was he gave me access to the 3 or 4 people who are very close to him. And there's this omerta code that the Dhoni clique follows. They only talk if he says, okay, talk. So he opened that door for me, and that really helped with the book.
I haven't read it, but Suman has managed to get a copy. So once he reads it, he can pass it on to...
There you go.
No, it must be a fascinating read because as a lot of us, do not get much insights into his personal space and, what he does beyond the cricket field. So, we need to get a hold of that. Tell us about, meeting Patrick Patterson. And then I remember you tweeted about meeting him and him telling you that do people remember me, and Sachin Tendulkar tweeting back and whatnot. Tell us a bit about that.
Oh, I mean, it's since become like my claim to fame as the guy who found Patrick Patterson, and understandably so. I because that also tells you how much people loved him and his bowling more than how much they loved me. But it's just a case of it become much beyond just a story for me, because it just I searched for him over 3 trips for the Caribbean, as everybody knows now. It was more from a journalistic sense, right? Like to find this great story of this guy who nobody knows, especially when I found out in 2013 that his parents didn't know where he was. I was just like, my journalistic sense or just my curiosity just like went through the roof. So, of course, I met a lot of fascinating characters en route to finding him. But then after I met him and I spent some time with him, it became much beyond the story. It almost became, I felt like I owed it to him to just become that window into the world for him, because he's still so cut off from reality at large levels. He doesn't know what's happening in the world, like even with this virus and all that. There's something out there, but he doesn't know anything. So I just literally took it upon myself to be like the only source of information of any kind that goes through to him. So it's become a fascinating relationship. Like we speak to each other once a month. Like there are times when he isn't having a great time and he calls me and I don't even understand what he's saying, because he might have just had like a nightmare or something, and he just tells me a lot of things. All I can do at that time from afar is to just kind of speak to him and make sure that he's fine, at least for that day. And then, there's no other contact. It's not like he uses a smartphone or something. So the whole MCG thing was, I was walking to the MCG when I was speaking to him, and he just got very excited about the fact that I was close to the MCG, asked me if the team still stay in the same hotel, which is on the other side of the water. And I have tried different ways to help his memory, kind of rejig his memory. Like I read out scorecards of all the matches he played for Tasmania, for Lancashire, or even for the West Indies. And when he hears names, he gets memories back, at least fleetingly. So it's the story that people talk about a lot. But for me, it's much, much more. Or it has become much, much more.
No, that is a pretty inspiring story as well for a lot of young journalists to say, just not write about cricket, but how you get associated and attached to topic and things like that. Cool. So on the same vein, then Mel and Bharat, do you remember your tweet or a video or a article which went viral first time ever?
After hearing something so inspiring and beautiful from Bharat, then you come back down to earth with me to know that after all the effort I've put into so many videos and articles and everything else, the thing of mine that's gone viral and been seen by most people is me getting thumped on the back by a ball that Tim Southee smacked at Lords. That was on TV stations everywhere. I think it was on Barstool Sports. It just went viral. So Bharat can bring the tone up here, and then with me it just comes back down to basically Keystone Cops and just farcical comedy. That went crazy, that whole thing. But important lesson. I was very impressed that most people didn't realize this about that. People said, where's the camera? For anyone who hasn't seen it, I was at Lords doing a preview with a couple of colleagues, and Tim Southee was out in the middle, smacked the ball, and yet you see the ball come and just get me right on, just inside the shoulder blade, just above the shoulder blade. And then he came over and apologized. The poor guy, he was absolutely mortified. And it was all beautifully framed. And the thing was, there was no camera operator. That was me, because I self-shoot most of the stuff that I do. So somehow I managed to set the whole thing up, and everything happened in frame, even including Tim Southee coming over and apologizing. So, I was pretty impressed by that. I may, get myself into bad situations, but at least I know how to catch it on camera.
You also had a claim to fame moment. I think earlier this year you spoke to Adam Gilchrist. That went viral too. So
okay, yes, you're right. That did. That He's a very, very nice man, and I just said to him, this was before Bharat had sort of taken over. You know, I was trialing out a few different people as possible partners for Good, Bad and Ridiculous. Rahul Dravid wasn't around, and I just happened to ask Adam Gilchrist. He was there, and he came on, and yeah, that went nuts. That kind of really pushed my YouTube channel along a lot further than it was. Really kick-started things. So I think it got on Reddit somehow, on Cricket Reddit. Cricket Reddit is a powerful thing, and yeah, so that was really good. So hopefully I'll be able to get some other people on there. But yeah, we've actually got some special titles now for Bharat on Good, Bad and Ridiculous. So it's going to be much harder to get anyone else on, I think.
Okay, excellent.
And no, before we move on, like Mel does undersell herself a lot. Like some of her features over the last few years have been extraordinary. Like, you know, the one on Finch that she wrote recently, whether it's Pat Cummins, she's written a lot about women's cricket, and yeah, she is one of the because she's so good on camera, because she's so worldly renowned on, like, you know, as this video person, her writing doesn't get the plaudits that it deserves, because she's a wonderful writer. And there's one request to Mel every time we meet is like, just write some more, Mel. So don't worry, guys. There's a lot coming from Mel, and yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of her pieces have gone viral as well. So this is just classic Mel, especially at 8:30 in the morning.
Oh, I am so tired.
No, thanks for making time. I appreciate it, because I do understand
you guys.
Working long hours. What is each of your favorite innings or cricket performance you have covered live? Do you remember any? Must have seen many.
That's a tough question.
I can't go past it, I'm afraid. So look, there's a couple of contenders. I remember one of the most joyful ones was probably when Brendon McCullum got the fastest Test 100 in Christchurch, because that had just been such a great tour. And I remember very distinctly sitting there looking at Jeff Lemon, my colleague. We just kept looking at each other and laughing throughout that innings. We were just laughing because it was absolutely preposterous what he was doing on a pitch like that. He was moving around. There was no line and length because he just moved to wherever he wanted to. It was really, really good, and been quite an emotional week that week as well in Christchurch. But I know it's probably a bit cliched. We saw some absolutely brilliant stuff in the India-Australia series, which some of those innings I'd have to say would come close, but I can't go past Benstokes, Ashes, Headingley.
Yeah.
I have never felt that much emotion coursing through my veins. It wasn't blood, it was pure emotion. That last day, it was just astonishing. It was the sort of stuff that you might read about when you talk about those, you know, Bollywood films and sports stories, and the way that the sports hero comes along. Yeah, that day was just all of that. And it wasn't just that, it was all the drama surrounding it, the drama of, you know, Nathan Lyon missing the run out, the DRS, the review that Australia mucked up as well. Everything about that day was just incredible. And even though the World Cup was on earlier that year, and that final was unbelievable, that Benstokes innings, the day 5 thing, I'll remember that for the rest of my life, and so many little details of it. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah, there's a video on YouTube of the commentary box. I think Alistair Cook and Glenn McGrath commentating that portion where they missed the run out. It's outstanding. As you about Bharat, what is your favorite or best one?
Yeah, I mean, I was there at Leeds that day as well, and like the scenes that they showed in the commentary box were being replicated in the press box as well. And that was just, English journalists are a strange lot. Like, you know, they go after their team more than even Indian journalists do when the team isn't doing well. But I don't think there's one media group it gets so emotionally charged when their team is doing well. And I say it in a very good way. I like seeing that. Like, you know, they're so passionate about their team doing well, and like, you know, they're not doing bad. That level of cynicism that exists in the Indian press box, you don't see it as much in in the English press box for sure. And just seeing some of those guys, like, grown men, like jumping out of their seat, and guys who've covered English cricket for the last 25, 30 years, just like in pure, like, tears when Benstokes hit that winning runs. Has to be, like Mel said, it's very difficult to say I've seen anything more dramatic than that. But like, yeah, I still think one of the greatest innings I've ever seen is Kevin Pietersen at the Wankhede, because by then I'd covered quite a bit of Test cricket in India and seen India play overseas. But just the enormity of that inning, I think, because it came in the middle of a series, and because England went on to win that series, that innings doesn't get spoken about as much as it should be. On a rank turner, and that was a proper rank turner at the Wankhede, where it's not easy to come and like take on the spinners. The 180 odd he made sweeping Oja, and 1-6 I remember of Oja, where I think he hit the ball outside the stadium, and then he went after Harbhajan. It was just incredible batting, and and also that was the only time my late father picked up the Indian Express and read the piece, and I remember he was having coffee. He was such a Times of India guy, he'd never even picked up the Indian Express, but that day he had to pick it up. He read the piece and he said that they pay you so much money to write about some non-Indian, like write about Indians. And I was like, dude, like seriously, that's all. And that's the only thing he ever said to me about my writing before he passed away. So there you go. But that innings was something extraordinary. Best spells, I don't know, Mel, it's so difficult, right? Like I have to say, I think Nathan Lyon at Adelaide in 2014, because it was such a for me it was the most dramatic test match, or fascinating test match I've ever covered, because of Phil Hughes passing away, unfortunately, and then the whole lead up to that test match was so different to anything I had done before or have done since. And then, the last day it was set up so beautifully. Virat Kohli was batting like a genius. Murali Vijay was batting like a genius. Nathan Lyon had never taken 5 wickets in the 4th innings ever in his career at that point. But just the way he ran through them, it was I think the best spell I've written about, maybe.
If I go to spells, the one that comes to mind for me live was probably at Adelaide as well, but Mitchell Johnson in the 13-14 Ashes, because he'd done so much damage in Brisbane in the test beforehand, and then it was all set up in Adelaide, and it was just the way he ran through England. The crowd, it was like the crowd could smell the fear, and they were feeding off it as well. And the ferocious sight. Mitchell Johnson is still, when I look back at it, it's one of the most amazing sights in cricket, when you've got this fantastic vantage point and you see Mitchell Johnson come steaming in. There's something so menacing about that. And at the time he had the mo as well. So everything about him was so macho, menacing, almost throwback to the 70s of Dennis Lilly or something like that. So that for me, probably Adelaide. I just everything he bowled there. It was pretty quick. He didn't have to bowl a lot of spells.
Last question, and then we will move on to a quick quiz. So Mel, I think you must have got this question quite a lot. So being a female coverage reporter or journalist, it is not easy in a male-dominated industry. So what is the advice you would give for budding women who are looking for getting into this industry? What are 1 or 2 things you would want them to focus on so that they can be half successful of what you are?
I guess maybe one thing is just remember, no one knows everything. And you often find yourself surrounded by a lot of guys who talk as if they know everything. And then sometimes you start to realize that, I certainly know I did, I would be thinking something, but I probably didn't have the confidence to say it about something that was happening. And then someone else would say the same thing, and everyone's like, yeah, you're right. And I was like, hang on a second, I've got to have a bit more confidence to actually have a voice. The other thing is that I always felt, though, that I had to really have to back that up, because you feel like you can be questioned a lot more, and you also feel like if you get something wrong, you're carrying, even still today, I still feel this, you feel like you're carrying the can for all women who work there. So people go, nah, she said something stupid. we can't have women commentating on cricket or whatever that is. So you do still feel that pressure. And I know that other women sometimes do that as well. We tend to be a lot harder on ourselves when we make mistakes, because there are guys who can say exactly the same thing and they just get away with it, but it then becomes a much bigger deal if a woman gets something wrong. So I think realizing though that cricket is an incredibly layered sport, and there are so many different things that affect stuff. If there were people out there who knew everything about the game, then they would be either rich from betting, or they would be rich from coaching, or rich from playing, because they would be they would get 10 wickets every time, or a century every time they played. There are so many things about cricket that you can look at, different variables. So realizing that, we're all still looking at this, everyone's been guessing about what the pitch will do and all this sort of stuff, and no one really knows. So just work out what it is you want to say, and have your argument or your reasoning behind it to back yourself up, because then it becomes a lot harder for people to kind of question you, because they might disagree with you, but they can see that you have reasons for coming up with those conclusions. And also just realizing that helps, that there are a lot of guys who walk around with a huge amount of confidence in knowing, it seems like they know everything about cricket, and you're like, I do think it's a little bit harder for women when they first come into the press box in particular, at that amount of sort of macho confidence and that sense that they belong there and this is their space. It's changing now, but the press box is still incredibly male. I was the only woman in the press box all summer in Australia. Broadcasting is changing at a bit more of a rapid rate, but to be honest, I've quite often been the only woman in the press box out of 50 or 60 people. If you've got one or two others, that's happening more now. If you've got any more than 3 women in a press box, in men's cricket, usually more in women, then that's really quite eye-opening. If there's 4. So there's still a long way to go, and I do think part of that is that it can be a very intimidating environment. So that might be something worth thinking of when people are reading or listening to female journalists, writers, commentators, whatever it is. It's probably been quite a difficult process for them to get there.
Very simple and excellent piece of advice. Thank you. Okay, great. So let's jump on to a quick quiz segment for you guys. So Sanjay, you are on. Go ahead, Sanjay.
So what we'll do is we'll have the easy ones for Mel, the difficult ones for Bharat.
Oh God.
Oh no, that's easy.
Right, Mel. So only Australian batsman to score 100 on his ODI debut.
No, I'm sorry. I'm going to fail this quiz. I told you I'm not so good at these things.
Let me give you a clue. This cricket has already been mentioned in this video.
Oh, you mentioned Aaron Finch.
No?
Well, we did mention Aaron Finch. I know that much.
Yeah, but there's another one we mentioned.
Oh, Adam Gilchrist. There we go, of course.
No, it's actually...
I told you I wasn't going to go well in these quizzes. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, it was Phil Hughes back in 2013. Gone too soon, but yeah, that is the answer.
Yeah, I told you I'm going to go very badly at these quizzes.
Now, this is... Don't worry, Bharat's not getting this. The World Cup T20 final, India versus Australia at the MCG. What was the official attendance? I'll give you 1,000 here and there, either side.
Okay.
Why do you ask me this one? I could get this one.
No, that's because you were there, Mel. Oh God, this is tough. I'm very bad with How about, was it? Mel, help me out here. Was it over 90,000?
No.
Oh, so it was 88,773.
Slower.
Close enough.
Yeah.
Close enough.
110,000.
That is...
I got 2 digits right, 8 and 7. Yeah.
That's very close though. Yeah, that is just over 86,000, just behind the 90,000 in 99 FIFA Women's World Cup final, which is the highest attended women's match in history. Right, next one, Mel. I'd back this cricketer against the Anacondas any day, the way her form's been at the moment. Mel Jones on whose record-breaking run of form at a previous edition of the T20 World Cup.
Okay, if it's recent, I would say Elisa Healy.
Boom.
Absolutely.
Ah, there we go. Yeah, she's had a couple of terrific T20 World Cups of late.
Fantastic. Bharat, next one's for you. Faf du Plessis, Dean Elgar, KL Rahul, Steve Smith, Ian Bell, Yunus Khan. What's the common thread?
They made 199.
Fantastic. The most recent 6 players to get out at 199 in tests. Well done. This is going well. Mel, next one's for you.
Oh no.
Who was the first cricketer to score a double 100 in ODI cricket history?
Oh God, was it Rohit?
So let me read that question again. Who was the first cricketer? So we've not used the word batsman or... So there's a clue.
Oh, okay. I've got no idea, guys.
She's Australian, Mel.
So
sorry, Belinda Clark. That's so bad of me. I get so much stick for that.
That is it. Yeah, that is it.
Yeah.
Melinda Clark was the one. Right, Bharat. Tight test, 1960 Brisbane, 1986 Madras. Who was the only cricketer to be involved in both?
Has to be Bob Simpson, right? Like he played in one and he coached in the other.
100%. Robert Badley Simpson. Yeah, as you mentioned, played in one, coached the other. Very good.
Okay, last.
How many Twitter followers? Mel and Bharat. Mel, you go for Bharat, and Bharat, you go for Mel.
Well, he's
Mel,
got
how
a lot.
many?
He's got a lot more. He got like about 20,000 followers over the summer. I know that. So I reckon he must be up to. I reckon he's about. Maybe he's around 34,000 now.
And Bharat?
I think Mel's always on the rise. I think she's around 85,000, 86,000.
Wow, 86?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I said 35. You're 32. That's pretty close.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
maybe after
close.
this video I'll get to just to get to by the time this video goes up, I'll reach there just so that Mel, your answer is right. There you go.
Yes, I'm sorry for being so tired for the quiz.
Before
Fantastically well. You did well.
Yeah. Before I let you go, I've got one non-cricket related question for each one of you. Mel, for you. At uni, you wrote an essay about the history and styles of Indian cinema. I'm surprised that didn't go viral. Tell us more about that.
You do pay attention. Yeah, I was going through a box of stuff. I'm at my mum's place. I've been here since COVID. And I was just going through a box of old stuff and came across this essay that I wrote. And it was, I did a Bachelor of Communications at university, and I did a whole heap of different majors and sub-majors, and I did journalism, writing, film studies, television production, all media subjects like that. And one of the topics we did different cinemas in the world, I think so, but I think we did, so Hollywood cinema, we did French cinema, we did some Italian, and we did Indian cinema, and I actually really enjoyed it. So I chose to write an essay on that, and I watched quite a few different movies. I watched the Apu trilogy by the great Satyajit Ray, which were amazing pieces of film making, and I watched some very traditional old sort of Bollywood films. The one that stands out to me and I remember the most is Amar Akbar Antony. And I still remember the song. I'm not going to sing it, especially this time. But yeah, the old Amma, Akbar, Antoni. I just remember it so clearly. And yeah, it's always stayed with me. I watched, different kinds. I'd like to see, be nice to go back and see some more. And the Indian film industry's developed in all sorts of ways as well. It's not just Bollywood. There's lots of other things. So yeah, I've had this weird thing, and I was reading back that essay, and Bharat would love this, but part of the essay I was talking about the advent, one of the fears they had when they basically tried to establish Indian cinema was how they were going to do it with so many different languages. In India, that was like a really big thing, because we discuss different language things all the time. So that was one of the things that I wrote about in the essay, about how then they overcame it, and sort of Hindi became a bit of a default language before other languages were used as well, and subtitles. So yeah, it was a quite random thing out there, but I did watch quite a lot of Indian cinema when I was a teenager.
Excellent. I know Bharat has to go now. Anyways, Bharat, Mel, thank you so much for your time. This has been great. Waking up early in Australia and sparing your generous time for us. So excellent for us. Suman, thanks a lot for your time as well. For all our viewers, do like and give it a thumbs up if you like this video, and do drop in a comment, share it with a friend, and let us know if you would like to see anything else on our channel. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day there. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.